I've got to warn you. If you was offended by the trouser joke from your old man, just remember what I'm about to say is all harmless fun. Alright?
Not so good, does it?
So thank you, Chris. I'm sure you'll all agree it's an excellent delivered speech. No? You're worried there. Just let you into a little secret, 2 years ago I obviously got married. Chris was my best man. I was in his position. And he came to me and said, Dean, I need a bit of advice. How do you deliver a perfect group speech? I said, Chris, this is the one bit of advice I can give you. Don't be sat there like a blubbering wreck. Okay? So he just about kept it. Just about. But I've got to say, I think you need a little more work on the blubber. Sorry, Chris. I'm only pulling your leg. Or should that be your arm? So afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know me already, I'm Dean. For those of you who do know me already, I do apologise. But apparently, I've been best man for today. Although I'm clearly not good enough for the top table, I see.
Clearly. Clearly there.
Not only that, as I discovered yesterday, not only enough for table 1. Or even table 2. I ended up on table 3. But the company is immaculate. So when Chris asked me to be best man last year, year's notice, I was a little surprised. But I was a little surprised. Yeah, more than a week. But yeah, I was a little surprised when he asked me, because Chris had never considered me the best at anything. The last 13 years that I've known him. But when I gave it some more thought, it needed someone with a full head of hair for the photographs.
Qualified for that.
This morning we had 2 hours to kill, and I knew you was at work, so I took the liberty of doing your own hair for you.
Is this from
Took years off, hadn't it?
Is this from Latvia?
Yes.
I knew she put it on the 8 bedstead somewhere.
You do look better. I took a lot of time this morning getting the flour done. So anyway, I sat down last night, rehearsed my speech, went again on the internet like every best man does, basically looking for some tips on what not to do, what to do, and what to clearly avoid. So anyway, I discovered a few ready-made best man speeches online, but none were about an old couple called Chris and Sam, whose interests include the X Factor, cycling, and the allotment. The allotment? Have you got X Factor on record tonight, Sam?
I don't think I've recorded. I don't need to because I've got, what's it?
We're trying to
You already preempted it. I also read online that it's an honour to be a best man, apparently. And when you deliver your speech, you try and express how honoured you are.
Should do.
How honoured you are when delivering your speech. Personally, I've been more honoured with a knighthood and a day trip to London over a trip to a free lunch at Dunedin, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers. So anyway, so how did I first meet Chris? Well, Chris had obviously touched on it. Obviously, it was at the University of Hull. And as myself was an 18-year-old fresher, I was feeling slightly worse for work. and not to mention late for my 9 AM robotics kinematic lecture. And that does sound as hard as what it is to pronounce. But anyway, so on into the lecture hall. As with every lecture hall at university, it always fills up from the back down. Except for the first 2 rows, obviously. A bit like the church today. Always empty. Except for one individual. One individual. This one individual was sat there looking rather fresh and sprightly behind his mound of books with his hands up back. And at this point I realised that this individual, now better known to me as Chris, might just be all I needed to get me through the next 3 years of university.
I've always suspected that.
But anyway, before we knew it, 3 years had passed and we both graduated, now expecting, or secretly hoping, to go our separate ways. But this wasn't to be the case, where we both obviously moved down south together, and it wasn't long before Chris had numerous failed relationships with a load of southern girls. He decided to try his luck back up north again. After numerous weekend commutes north, Chris finally discovered Samantha.
No.
That wasn't what happened.
I've got a tissue, so you want to give me more?
Don't let him in.
Anyway.
That's my job, not yours.
Anyway, as the barmaid and I say barmaid, anyway, 4 AM in Riga, Chris, and believe it or not, Chris was crying into his pipe, not me. Okay? Sam's not only his wife, it's his best friend, and it is true love. So anyway, as I already mentioned, I met Chris at Hull University, but I knew there'd be a handful of stories from my time at school and college. So with this in mind, I thought, how best could I capture these throughout reciting numerous stories provided me by old school friends, of which Chris doesn't have many of, as you all realise at the church today.
Yeah, we are very select. Yeah. Tell you what, we are very, very select.
Thank you, mate.
So be very careful from now
Proper friends, the proper friends.
on. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sure
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
delighted to hear that I've managed, with the kind assistance of his mum, Julia, to get hold of a few old school reports. Well, now what better way to gain an insight into Chris's early years? So here's a few comments I'd like to share with you all today. So PE, physical education. Chris's effort and determination can never be questioned. So the last one leaving the gym on a school night to put in a 20 to 30 mile bike ride on the weekend. However, on appearance, one has to ask, has he been doing enough for today? Media
Well, that door, Molly.
You're scared
It doesn't
to.
get any better. Media studies. Chris's enthusiasm regarding Facebook statuses does occasionally get out of hand. He must let other Facebook friends make a contribution to the debate and realise that he's not always right. They should have it, in fact. He is usually.
Very enterprising, isn't it?
Agriculture. As we've all seen today, Chris has put a lot of effort into his allotment over the last year.
Sounds a lot. Sounds a lot.
But anyway,
Mr. and Mrs. McGrill.
his allotment has certainly borne fruits, or vegetables. Chris can genuinely feel unlucky to miss out on this year's Silver Gilt Award, which is unfortunately gone to Samantha.
Yeah.
Julia, The next one, okay, is politics. Now, as a best man, there are certain rules. Now, politics is a step too far even for me, so I'm gonna leave that one. So now on to the star of the show, the bride.
Way.
Sam, you look beautiful today, and I know all your friends and family think the 20-year wait has been worth it. I personally know that a lot of time and effort on your part has gone into today, and it can clearly be seen as it's been a wonderful day so far. And I'm sure the rest of the day will be up to the usual hand standards that you expect. The one thing I know you've been worried about though has been the weather. It's the one thing when planning a wedding that no amount of planning or money can change. It can be notoriously windy on the East Coast and unpredictable, a bit like this speech. Anyway, as you know, I've always had a little saying for Chris that he likes to paddle in his own canoe. By this I mean that he always likes to be in control of his own destiny. If anything goes wrong, only he can be to blame. Well, I stood at the end of the altar earlier. I asked Chris, now that you're married, will you be letting Sam into your canoe? His response was not quite what I expected. When he replied, she can get in, but she isn't to touch anything. Now Sam, I have got you another gift up in the room. Unfortunately it's too big to bring down, but it is your own paddle. So when you do get in with Chris, you can paddle your own direction. I'd now like to draw your attention to the bridesmaids.
Way.
The Mallet.
What
thought he meant.
So you're right. Cancel this food. You need it liquidizing.
So Kristen and Christina, you both look stunning today, and you've performed your roles fantastically well, despite the inevitable and healthy rivalry that can sometimes occur. It was only this morning, just before the church, I overheard a furious argument between the two of them about who's going to dance with the best man. Understandable, I thought. That wasn't still got a little closer. When I heard Christina saying, no, you. So anyway, early this year, Chris obviously asked Sam to marry him. Following Sam's bid for charity, in agreeing to marry Chris, I decided to approach Chris to see if he fancied doing his own little bit for charity. We decided to set ourselves on something small to begin with and chose to cycle 500 miles around the coastline of northern Scotland. Chris prepared himself like he always does. He bought all the bells and whistles. By this I mean he bought the best bike, he bought the best clothes, he bought the best pedals, he bought the best shoes. Pretty much, he bought the best everything. But anyway, it could be said, it's a bit like all the gear and no idea. It's stupid reminds me of that. On the subject of all the gear and no idea, it's quite apt looking at Chris today. He's been dressed in all the gear, but he still has no idea. Well, I'm coming towards the end of my speech now. Don't look too pleased, Chris. It will get much better. But before I do, apparently as a best man that's already been married, I meant to offer some advice on what to expect. I must admit, when I read this online, I was a little concerned. I didn't feel I'd been married long enough to qualify to start giving out advice. With this in mind, I looked elsewhere and took a lot of inspiration from the guys in the stag do, many of whom were already married, many of whom were already divorced. After hearing a few childhood memories of what Chris and Stuart got up to, I decided I'd be best off getting them a present to help them on their way to starting a family. So Chris and Sam, on behalf of Stuart and all the lads in the stag do, I'd like to present you with a year's subscription to Man and Woman.
One step too far. so far.
Anybody that doesn't understand that joke, or is too young, as I was when it was told to me, if you'd asked Julia in private, I'm sure she'll go into some great detail. Unfortunately, not everyone has been able to make it today, and I've been passed on their cards and best wishes to read out. Just forgive me while I
Young person saying
probably put it on.
So I was going to say that fiver. Yeah, that one's
So dear Chris and Sam, congratulations on your wedding day. We'd have loved to have celebrated your special day with you, but unfortunately we didn't quite make the cut. All the best, James and Alana. It's a bit awkward, isn't it?
Move on quickly.
Next one. Thanks, Stu, for these. Oh, so this one's from the lads at Withensea Football Club. It says here, for those that don't know, Chris used to play football for Withensea Football Club as a teenager. Congratulations, Chris and Sam. Sam, all the best for the future. Chris was useless in every position.
Well, I didn't used to get stuck in.
Defend that one.
I'm going to script now.
You've got to be on the ball now.
It says here this one's from Rushmore Borough Council. I've got to be honest, when I first opened a version of the park interview. Chris and Sam, we wish you all the best in your future. Hope you're not travelling far in your honeymoon. All the best, Prospect Road Allotment Committee. Last paragraph. Chris and Sam, over the last 5 years we've shared some great memories. From the boat ride in Mexico, which I thought was perfectly safe, to the New Year's Eve in Amsterdam. For both myself and Lucy, we sincerely hope there is plenty more to come. On behalf of everyone here today, I wish you every happiness as you embark on your married life together. Now, just before I ask you to raise your glasses, okay, I'd also like to bring your attention to these glasses. These glasses, Samantha bought on Friday from Asda.
Hey, good girl.
There is only 70 of them, so if you break one, you will not be getting another one. But ladies and gentlemen, if you've been pleased understanding, to toasting the bride and groom, the new Mr. and Mrs. Connor. Cheers. Cheers.